Well, on this day, some 48 years ago, Lamar could tell me. I can't do math that fast. It was 48 years ago this day, right, Lamar?
That's correct, Tom. Today's the 48th anniversary of the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
Right. And let me introduce Lamar Waldron, JFK historian, I'm the co-author of both Ultimate Sacrifice and Legacy of Secrecy. LegacyofSecrecy.com is the website for this tome, this 900-plus page book. As Liz Smith said, this is serious. And Lamar, some news, first of all, about this book that we wrote. We announced some months ago that Warner Brothers is going to make it into a movie, and that Leonardo DiCaprio was going to star in it. There's somebody else who has jumped in.
That's correct. There's a lot more we can talk about today about exactly what is going to be in the movie, but nothing is more exciting than the fact that Robert De Niro is going to be in the Legacy of Secrecy movie. And this great, Oscar-winning actor, one of the great actors of our time, for movies going back to The Godfather 2 and Goodfellas and Casino and so many great roles, Taxi Driver, one of my favorites, he is going to be portraying the man who is really America's most dangerous godfather, Carlos Marcello, who is the godfather of pretty much the entire state of Texas, Louisiana, parts of other states. And it was Carlos Marcello who, as the movie will show, actually confessed to the assassination of John F. Kennedy, not just in a very general way, but a very specific way. And he added so many details about, how he killed President Kennedy, his meetings with Jack Ruby, who was basically his man. Many of your listeners will hear today for the first time something that's been long suspected, but we can now confirm that Carlos Marcello was actually the hidden owner of Jack Ruby's Carousel Club in Dallas. Now, nobody's ever been able to figure out who owned half of Ruby's Carousel Club. Well, it was Carlos Marcello, because Marcello, controlled the rackets in Dallas. Ruby was just a front for him, but there's so much information in the movie, and a great thing about it, it confirms what Robert Kennedy himself told other people after his own private investigations, where Bobby Kennedy actually said and told associates that Carlos Marcello had killed President Kennedy, his own brother. So,
not as in pulled the trigger, but as in put the hit together.
Exactly. He put the hit together because at the very time JFK was being assassinated, this is also the 48th anniversary of when Carlos Marcello was in a New Orleans courtroom on trial with Bobby Kennedy's own federal prosecutor, facing conviction and deportation because Marcello was not even a citizen. So, again, Mafia, and especially Marcello, backs to the wall, no choice. And so now Robert De Niro is going to help to bring this important story to the screen, along with Leonardo DiCaprio.
And who is Leonardo DiCaprio going to play in the movie?
Well, he's going to play a tremendously interesting character most people have never heard of by the name of Jack Van Landingham. Most people have never heard of Jack Van Landingham because nobody knew who he was until 2006. I didn't know when I found his files at the National Archives when they had been released as part of the 4.5 million files that have really helped us just put the whole story together even more than what Robert Kennedy was able to figure out. And we confirmed what Robert Kennedy did find. Jack Van Landingham was pretty much an ordinary person, a successful businessman and a good family man, not a criminal. But he, in the early 80s, he became very despondent after his troubled alcoholic wife left him. And then Jack literally had one bad day that people will see in the movie that landed him in federal prison, where he became the confidant and cellmate of Carlos Marcello. So you have this incredible movie where you have this ordinary guy, Leonardo DiCaprio, who finds himself in prison with America's most powerful godfather, and the only way that Leo's character, Jack Van Landingham, cannot serve his full 8-year sentence is if he helps the FBI So even at the time he is, becoming Marcello's confidant and cellmate, because he wasn't a criminal. He wasn't sucking up to Marcello, asking for favors. He didn't know who Marcello was before he went to this Texas federal prison. Leo's character is put in the incredible position of finding out all of this information, many crimes, not just JFK's murder. Right. But I mean, imagine if you're the cellmate of a man who literally killed the President of the United States and got away with it. And you know if he finds out you're really helping the FBI and you're taking a specially bugged transistor radio into the cell, and the FBI has a lot of the material we're talking about on tape.
Right.
Marcello's confessions and talking about meeting Ruby and Lee Harvey Oswald, who was not the shooter, by the way, as Marcello explains. It's just an amazing suspense thriller kind of story that also explains exactly who killed John F. Kennedy and why.
Yeah, and Lamar, it's the 48th anniversary. The movie is going to come out on the 50th anniversary, assuming that Warner Brothers gets it together, and De Niro has not signed on. He simply said he wants to be part of the movie.
Right. He definitely wants to be part. There's a whole green light process that has to happen.
Right. There's still a bunch of hoops that this has to hop through. Although you and I have seen we've signed contracts with Warner.
Well, and by the way, here's the great reason the movie is going to get made. Leonardo DiCaprio, who's a great actor, a wonderful star in Hollywood, a very progressive environmental guy, he's not just starring in the movie. He and his father, another great progressive, George DiCaprio, are producing the movie.
Yeah.
So they really want to tell this important story.
Right, and the documentary that may accompany it or come out afterwards with that Earl Katz is going to be involved in.
Right, so, exactly right. Because this is part of a big story, but the rest of the story is really going to be able to be told in the documentary that will go with Legacy of Secrecy. Because Warner was nice enough to let you and I keep those documentary rights.
Right.
So there'll be a 2-hour theatrical documentary that will probably actually come out before the movie, and then the movie itself. So hopefully people know this important story.
So here's the question, Lamar. Here we are 48 years later.
Right.
Many of the people listening to this program were not even born when Jack Kennedy was killed. Many of them were young enough when it happened. And you and I are a couple of old farts. We were little kids when it happened, but we both remember it. Many people have no recollection of it. The Kennedy assassination in their mind is in the same category as the Lincoln assassination. Why is, in the 1 minute we have left, why is the Kennedy assassination still important today?
There are two really big reasons. One is it's an incredible story of government secrecy and how and why those 4.5 million pages of files were kept secret. And of course, government secrecy is important today, from 9/11 to the Iraq wars, everything we deal with. But the reason for that government secrecy was Cuba, and the fact that Marcello had managed to plant phony evidence, as we document in Legacy of Secrecy and in super detail in Ultimate Sacrifice, phony evidence implicating Fidel Castro in JFK's assassination, and a lot of high-level officials, from Lyndon Johnson to the head of the CIA to Alexander Haig, people who became very powerful even decades later, believed, and Haig believed this till he died last year, that Fidel Castro was behind JFK's
Yeah, LBJ went to his grave believing this.
Exactly. And they believed that phony evidence that we...
And therefore they had to cover it up, because if the word got out that Castro had killed Kennedy, you'd have war with the Soviet Union, and that would be the end of life as we know it.
We still have those Kennedy-era sanctions against Cuba today, so getting this story out will be the one thing that can help finally normalize those relations with Cuba.
And wouldn't that be an amazing thing? Lamar Waldron, legacyofsecrecy.com. You can read all about it. Thank you, Lamar.
Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate it.